Hello, hello, and welcome to the sixth take of the intro for today's episode of Saddest Night Out. My name is Roy, and I am the host of this daily podcast, and it's primarily about music and creative culture in London. Today's guest, I call him this in the episode, and I'll say it again in the intro. I believe he is the biggest fan of live music that I've ever met. His name is Andres Vicente, and on this conversation, he takes us on a bit of a guided tour through his history with live music, how he first got into it, how he goes about deciding what it is he's going to see, how much he's seen over the years, some of the highs, some of the lows. This is someone whose enthusiasm for the live music sector is really self-evident and something that I would love to inspire in others, and maybe introducing the people listening to this podcast to someone who is through and through a fan of live music might make you want to see what he's talking about, and maybe you can glean some of that enthusiasm off of him. So we caught up during the lunch hour in London. We were just outside of Pret a Manger. And yeah, he just tells us all about how he first got into it and what it is he loves about it. So this is me talking to Andres Vicente, and I'll tell you a bit more about me and what I'm getting up to afterwards. Enjoy this chat, and I'll talk to you in a bit. Okay, we're live. It's lunchtime. I'm on Warren Street outside of Pret, and I'm here with someone who I think might be the biggest fan of live music that I know. What's your name?
I'm Andres Vicente.
Welcome to the show, Andres. So, do you remember when you first went to see live music?
I remember my first show was actually the Spice Girls 1998.
Wow.
And I claim it because people would say like, nah, this music is like, no, that was my first thing that I went to.
Who took you to that?
My dad, because I was like 14, obviously I wasn't even allowed to go by myself. It was me and a friend, and my dad sitting behind looking like, well, when is this going to finish? like many dads at that show.
I imagine any show like that, even like the Justin Bieber or Taylor Swift, there's all the fans and there's all the parents who are just there like, oh, how much longer is left? Gotta wait it out. So from that, how did you get into Spice Girls? Was it just because they were phenomenon, everyone was a fan?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I did like them a lot. I think actually it was a compilation originally. I think what they went on, it was a lot of electronic poppy music, and they had some remixes in it. And I think that was it. I mean, it was at the very beginning when they came on, but it was some remixes that they had at the beginning, I think.
Okay. And from that first show, did that inspire your appetite for live music, but you wanted to get to see more straight away?
I don't think so. I don't think at that time. So early on, I was like, for starters, Madrid, the music scene is not that big. It fluctuates, it comes and goes, but the investment is not there. So it's never been a thing. So it wasn't, at that time I wasn't feeling like I had a reason to go and watch live music. I was more into going to the cinema at that time, and I was going to lots of movies. And I think like the first like proper show that I would call my show, it was probably Coco Rossi.
Okay.
It was at the time when all the new like psych folk stuff from the States were coming, and there was a lot of like big things coming.
So this is still in Madrid?
Yeah, that was still in Madrid.
So that was the first,
like,
was that the start
show
of a bunch, like you really going to see shows? So were there more shows happening in Madrid at that time then?
A bit more, because there was this scene coming, but most of the time it was like Barcelona, it was Primavera, it was all everybody coming there, and not to Madrid. Then some would come to Madrid, like the ones getting bigger, like Lisa Germano that has some more background, and Coco Rossi, because Pedro Almodovar is a fan of Coco Rossi, so of course they came, and all that stuff. It wasn't that much.
So when did you come to London?
2008, and that coincided, so it was the first reason that really like pushed me to go and see live music was around like 2007, I think, that I saw Shoo Shoo. It was actually on a like late night TV show in Spain, and I stumbled on him almost like sweating blood on stage, and I was like, this guy's amazing. It's like, so I didn't know him. And then if you listen to the records, it's like, sounds amazing, but like, when you see him live, it's ridiculous. and he was playing a show like soon after, and I went to see him, and there was like, this is the reason to come and see live music. Suddenly it was an experience. It wasn't just, what you've heard on the album. It was a thing.
So that's when you felt like, okay, live music is
And that's what
something else entirely.
Yeah.
That's what it's at. Now, you started with Spice Girls. You mentioned Shoo Shoo and Coco Rosie. There's a slight difference in taste there. Is there a particular genre or taste that you're attracted to, or does anything go?
Pretty much anything. It's like I've got some issues with like jazz, but it's not because I have issues with jazz. It's because the jazz scene, there's so much stuff that's like not that good.
Okay.
It's like the improv jazz. So many people think they can do improv jazz, and they can't. And there's a lot of like super dense of that stuff, and it's like it's very hard to like navigate and like find something that I find interesting within the jazz scene.
Okay.
That's not like just boredom for an hour. But like I have no issues as long as it's like something interesting. I'm fine with any genre.
So 2008, you come to London, you've got a taste for live music. Do you start going to lots of shows straight away?
I started going to quite a lot because I think Mowai was probably like the first big one. So it was Mowai with Fuck Buttons and Errols. It was an amazing lineup, and they had an after party after. And I think that was the first one because I've been a fan of Mowai for a long time. And that was like soon after I moved here. And when I was going by, I was a student, I didn't have that much money.
Yeah.
So my main limitation with that was like a lot of thinking about, do I go to this one? Do I not go to this one? If I go to this one, which has been announced early in the month, will I be able to buy something later in the month if it counts? Or I will be poor. And so that was the kind of thing. Like, I've already bought tickets for like 5 shows this month. I can't afford more.
That's my limit. I've got to stop there.
So that was my thing.
Because I went to university in Huddersfield, actually around 2008, and I would go to shows in Leeds and Manchester. I had a similar thing. I'd have maybe, after bills and so on, I'd have maybe £200 for a term. So it's like, okay, if I just eat plain bread and black tea, I can afford this ticket, etc., etc.
That's the thing. I've had like many end of months of eating pasta and rice. Of like, yeah, like suddenly an expensive ticket comes along. I was like, yeah, it's going to be pasta for a week.
So how are you finding out about shows? Because these days there's all sorts of websites and apps, etc. But back then, what was your go-to to find out?
I was lucky because when I came, it was literally at the time Songkick had launched.
Oh, okay.
And I think I stumbled on it. So I had bought, I don't know if it was Q or Uncut or something like that at the airport when I was coming. I think it was literally when I was coming from Spain here, or like the other way around. And I had bought it just to have something to read. And in one of the little bits at the end, it said, "Oh, this website has launched." Well, they have all the listings and all that stuff. So that was so I just went for it. And then because it was early on, and it was at a time when I was still finding about stuff, it was easy enough to like synchronize what I had on iTunes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And now then I've been keeping it manually, because now if I had to synchronize all my Spotify, that would be death. But at that time it was manageable enough, and the website was just starting, and it was easy enough. So then we just caught each other at the right time, and I've been using Songkick since.
So at your peak, how many shows would you go to in a week, and has that changed much up to now?
Oh my lord. A year, I think, would be around 150 to 200.
Wow.
In 1 week, the peak, I think, must have been 11.
Okay, already, let me just stop you right there. 7 nights a week. So walk me through that. How are we doing 11 shows in 1 week?
If you have like the 5 and then you do 3 and 3, then that's as much as you can do. It's like I've done 9. Like no, that hasn't been that weird in like the last couple of years to like do 9 in a week. It hasn't been unusual. 11 was like the max, because like you can't do more than 11 because it's like 5, 6, and 6.
Yeah,
that's as much as you can do.
Yeah, that's more than most can do. That's impressive, right there. See, listeners, I wasn't kidding when I said this guy is the biggest lover of live music that I know. So, if you can, off the top of your head, are there some venues in particular that stood out that you would regularly go to back then?
I think, I don't know, it's like now I would definitely like vouch for Earth. Which is like one of the most recent ones that has opened. But it's an amazing space, the theater. Because the theater is it's an Art Deco cinema, and it was closed for ages, and now they've reopened it. They've left it mostly untouched, just they've made it safe and like clean it up and just revamped it a bit. But it's as it was. There are like holes in the wall and stuff, and it's just safe and nice, but it's an amazing place. Sounds amazing also because I think it's the shape of the theater and the way it's built with the concrete. The sound sounds big, but it doesn't sound boomy. That can like detract from the music. It sounds amazing, looks amazing. Out of like the current venue, I think that's probably one of my favorite venues for sure.
And it's just down the road from where Birthdays used to be.
Yep.
So it's quite nice that we lost one, but now that one has sprung up in its wake. So that's nice. Are there any venues you really like, any other venues you like that aren't with us anymore?
Oh, the Luminaire. That's
Where was that?
Kilburn.
Oh, right.
It was when things used to happen in West London. At some point in history, West London had a scene in the Kilburn High Street because it was the Good Ship was there, the Luminaire was there, and there were a couple others doing like more kind of like open mic kind of stuff. And the Good Ship was very specialized on post rock and math rock and that kind of stuff, and they had a lot of comedy in between. And the Luminaire was amazing because it was run by an amazing guy. The people who used to be at the venue then went on to form Savages.
Oh, wow.
So that's the...
Jenny Beth.
Yeah, Jenny used to work at the Luminaire.
Okay.
And Andy, who used to do the bookings at the Luminaire, he was their tour manager. So that was the first, I think it was the first ever Savages show, was the last ever show at the Luminaire. They had a final show and then they had the funeral show. And the funeral show was Savages playing. And I think that was their first ever show. But like Adele played at the Luminaire. Like almost anybody who was like half big now, you say it's like, where did they start in London? Almost 100%. If the Luminaire was around, it was the Luminaire.
Wow. R.I.P. to the Luminaire. So, in your history of going to shows, larger shows versus smaller shows, is there a preference? Not much difference to you?
I prefer smaller, so that's why I try and be on top of it and try and be as like experimental as I can to catch things earlier. Because then, the bigger it gets, then first of all, the more expensive it gets. Obviously, you lose contact with the band, it gets a bit detached. The venues are nice, but it's a different experience. It gets bigger. Then also you get, when things go mainstream, you get a lot of new fans coming in, a lot of queuing early to get into places, and then it becomes a different thing. It's more of an ordeal to like go to shows and just rocking up to a small place, bands there, and it's a different thing.
Do you ever go to shows not knowing who's playing but just going to see? Or do you normally not have an idea before you go?
I mean, it's with the way that I do, which is why Sonky was a big thing, is every time I listen to something that's mildly interesting, just one track that I like, whether it's from a podcast, radio, a friend who's told me something that's popped out on Facebook, I go straight on Sonky and put them in. So I know they have something that I like, whether it's like representative or not, or if it's big or small, there's something that I like. Then when I get the update saying, they are playing here, then I go and check. And then I sit on Spotify and it's like, is it worth going to see these people?
Okay.
And then I buy. But then I might buy it like 6 months in advance. By the time the show comes along, I might have forgotten how the band sounds. I've got no idea. So it's like surprise. So that's a good thing. It's like, you like it, you go and check it, and it's like, it's cool, you buy a ticket, and then it comes and it's another surprise. So it's a double surprise.
Like discovering the band all over again. So are there any shows recently you've been to that were really good?
I think the Max Cooper, so there was the Barbican organizers of the year, a weekend of classical music but reinvented in a way, trying to use all the different venues that the City of London and the Barbican organized. Max Cooper was doing a reworking with an American pianist of Philip Glass's works, and that was awesome because he was the pianist who's amazing, playing most of my favorite stuff by Philip Glass, and then Max Cooper was doing his own rejigging of it, and it sounded awesome.
And is there anything in the near future that you remember you've got a ticket to? And
oh my god, I'm looking forward to it. I've got no idea. Alex, I don't know, because the thing that I had, I was looking, so I had the Raw Power weekend and it was just gone, and that was really good.
Yeah, what about festivals? Do you tend to go to many of those? Like, say, Reading, Glastonbury, anything like that?
Not like that big. It's like I did my amount. I don't really go out that much of London apart from like Brighton or like somebody big play something interesting, like when Stone Roses did Manchester. I went to that one, obviously.
Okay.
And I do go to Atonal is my in Berlin. That's my big thing. So that would be like the thing that I'm looking forward the most, because that's in August in Berlin. The venue, speaking of good venues, the venue is ridiculous. You have the reason to go, it's just because the venue is amazing. It's this big. It was a power plant. There's still part of the power plant is still running, but there's the old part of the power plant is abandoned.
Wow.
And now they've repurposed it into like this big arts and cultural center, and it's amazing. They've put so much effort into like the lighting and the sound. The curation is ridiculous. It's mainly electronic and experimental stuff. It could be part of like my thing. I'm coming in a way from like a lot of the dance scene from the 90s. That was like some of like my first like active things that I was interested in, was the dance music from the early 90s. I've been always interested in techno and trance, but now more experimental.
Okay. So that's Berlin, right?
That's Berlin. And
how would you compare? Have you seen many other music scenes outside of London? How would you compare London to, like, say, Berlin or Spain now?
I think it's things. That's very different places. Because I would say Spain has generally been, because we are very loud, chatty people in Spain. So if you go to Spanish show in Spain, the chances of more people talking and the crowd being less respectful in general tends to happen a lot more. But that's also true from London.
Yeah.
When you compare it to Brighton, it's like Brighton shows people are usually like more keen, quieter. There's less fuss around. There's less hype about things. There's less. Here's one of the things I will see with Brighton is start early, finish early. You are there for the music. That's the point of the thing. That's why you are there. In London, there's a lot of like going out and like seeing and being seen, and there's a lot more of that around that. Of like, it's like, why did you spend £15 to come here and have a chat with your workmates? Like, I don't understand. That was a big thing in birthdays, because it was what it was instead of Newington Dalston. And the kind of music they had was very sinister kind of music. You got a sinister crowd, which you get in London a lot more than you get in Manchester or in Glasgow or in Brighton, that's for sure.
Okay. And there's at least one show to look forward to in the kind of near future. Is it December or November that Chromatics are coming back to town?
Correct.
That was where we first met. I think it was Madame Jojo's.
Yes.
I got there early. I think you were the first person I saw in the queue. I think you took some videos from that show. So that's how I remember. I want to say 2012. Maybe around then, but definitely a few years ago.
2012, 2013.
Yeah. So quite a few years ago. And I loved when you sent me a message a few weeks ago saying, I guess we're going to get together again. I didn't even have to ask. And you knew exactly what you were talking about. I'm like, yes,
that's another I want to look forward to, for sure.
So do you remember how you first got into Chromatics?
Oh, Lord. I think it was probably because they still are, I guess. They were Portland-based.
Yeah.
So they were part of the Pacific Northwest thing. And like, now things have changed, because now I know more people, and now Facebook is a thing, and now Spotify's around, and there are many things. But back when I was in Spain and I didn't know as many people, and there weren't so many outlets and stuff like that, most of my music discovery, and still quite a lot of it, came through KXP Seattle, the radio station.
Yeah, I've been on the YouTube channel many times.
Yes, it's become a thing now. Back then, not that much of a thing. It was in the US. It was popular. It wasn't. Now it's massive. But at that time, I literally stumbled by absolute accident while I was bored after studying on a Saturday, and I stumbled on them. It was at a time I was very into my Nirvana and all the Seattle scene things, so I said, let's give this Seattle radio station a go, and suddenly it was KXP. But because they are local-ish, then they've always been on top of bands from both Seattle and Portland.
Okay.
And they played Chromatics, and that was the first time I ever heard Chromatics. And that was like 2006, 2007, so it was very early on.
Yeah.
I remember going on Wikipedia. I think I don't think I started in the end, but I was one of the first contributors to the Chromatics wiki page because it didn't exist. It's like, at the time I got into Chromatics, they didn't have a wiki page.
That's
it's
how
like,
far back.
If you went to Wikipedia and looked for Chromatics, you found the chromatic scale. that was the only thing. I kept going to Wiki and see like, if somebody had created something about chromatics, the chromatic scale still. So I don't think I ever like came around to like actually starting it myself.
Yeah.
But then I kept hovering and seeing it was Discogs. The early records were on Discogs. That's the only thing. And then I was trying to like search on. It was the blog time when there were lots of blogs and things on MySpace happening.
Yeah.
And that's how then I started like digging through. There were some blogs from Mexico and like from Latin America who were a lot into the Italo disco and electro stuff, which was the big thing in 2007.
Yeah.
And they were like gathering bits and pieces from like Crystal Castles and Chromatics and this and that, and that's how we like built knowledge of these bands that nobody knew about.
Yeah. So that was how you might have built up your Wikipedia page.
It was like
going through the blogs,
pinching things.
Well, I for one am definitely looking forward to that show. And just thank you very much for your time.
My pleasure.
And I have no doubt we'll bump into each other again at another show for another part of this conversation. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
And that was that. Thank you very much to Andres for your time. That was a really fun conversation. It was great to catch up with him again, just in general. Because, as I mentioned in the episode, we met quite a few years ago. It's been ages since we've been to a show together or just seen each other. So it was great to sit down with him and just remind myself of what a really interesting person he is. My biggest hope for this conversation is that maybe his attitude towards live music could become a bit contagious. Here is someone who has a long and storied history with live music and is very cognizant of it. He talks very intelligently and with much passion and enthusiasm about live music. It's not just, oh, he's seen this band or he's been to this venue. He's not one of those, he's the antithesis to the type of person who goes to maybe 1 or 2 shows a year or maybe just goes to Glastonbury. He's going out, actively seeking new music, actively supporting it. And you don't need me to tell you that music in general needs more people like Andres. Art in general, culture in general, needs more people like Andres who really care about people who are creating something interesting and will go and seek it out and support it and spread the word about it. I'll put a link to his YouTube channel in the notes. I think it's ANDUNEMIR. Let's go with that. Andunamir. I think that's how you spell it. If you search for that, you should find his channel and see quite a few of the videos he's made of the shows he's been to. So thank you once again, Andres. Great chat. In fact, it's quite fitting that it was Andres I spoke to because I have an announcement. Drum roll, please. Brr, I guess. I don't know. I haven't got the budget for sound effects. What I do have is a live show on Tuesday, the 25th of June. Loads of Japanese bands. My band will be playing at Road Trip and the Workshop on Old Street. That's Tuesday, 25th of June. I've already lined up the artists that will be playing with me. It will be Juliet and Nanette, Its Own Animal, and Delilah Black and Buckley, all of whom have been on the podcast before. If I can, I might try and post links to those episodes in the notes for this episode. But if you just search Saddest Night Out and either Juliet and Nanette, Its Own Animal, or Delilah Black and Buckley, I'm sure you will find those conversations. I'm really excited about it. I've got a lot of work to do to make sure I'm ready for it and my band is ready for it. And before then, friend of the podcast, Sean, and the Paper Boat Collective will be playing at the Stag's Head Sunday the 16th of June. There'll be a whole bunch of artists, including some of the artists who are part of the collective, and it should be a real good time. Just a whole bunch of talented people getting together and playing each other's music, and again, appreciating the art. I can't praise enough Andres' attitude towards live music. He's like a patron saint of going to shows, and the more work I can put towards inspiring that spirit in more people, the better off we'll all be. So, thank you, Andres. I think I might go into more detail about what I've been up to on my next episode. Suffice to say, Ben Todd from the Nelsons and Josh, again, I'll explain who these people are more in the next episode, but they are my bestest friends right now because this week has been a very interesting one. Same goes to Tyler. Again, to be continued. All will be explained in due time. Otherwise, Thank you very much for listening. Sunday 16th of June at the Stag's Head, Tuesday 25th of June at Road Trip and the Workshop. Thanks for listening, and I'll catch you on the next episode. You know, this outro is like the third take as well. I've just been so tired. I don't know what it is. My head's not in the right place. But you didn't come here to listen to me whine. You came... I don't know why you come here. Thanks for listening. I'll stop myself before I ramble any further. I'll catch you on the next episode. Take care, folks.